Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to 6 Things That We Learned from Bradford City 1, Wrexham Afc 1. If you do go on to enjoy today's video, please make sure to drop a like on there for me. If you could turn it 80 likes on today's video, that'd be massively appreciated. Subscribe if you're new as well. We are on the road to 8,000 subscribers, so please make sure you are subscribed if you haven't already with that post notification bell on. It's free to do so and it does massively help out. Get a comment in as well down in the comment section down below. Let us know down below your thoughts on our 6 talking points in today's video. I am already joined by Frank. I'm going to start out then with my personal man of the match from the game. I know Bobby Poynton got the sponsors man of the match, but I've gone with a green box for Alex Gilliead. I was really impressed with him once again yesterday. I thought he had a really good game. I think that early tackle that he made on Elliot Lee really set his tone for the game. Elliot Lee is one of the best players in the division. He scored goals for fun so far this season. And I thought personally, Gilliead had a really good game. He marked him out of the game. Elliot Lee did not have a single sniff whatsoever. I think, did Lee get subbed off? I actually can't remember because he did literally nothing in the entire game. Gilliead was brilliant. He picks up the ball from deep and he drives forward with it. He might not get the goals and assists, but if he's going to do the driving forward with the ball from midfield, I have absolutely no qualms with him being in the team because I think he's proved to us over, I wouldn't even say the last couple of matches, pretty much from the start of the season. I think it would be fair to say that he's certainly got that ability. And obviously, he scored a great goal against Grimsby. And I just think as each game gets by, Gilliead just makes himself look better and better. He's got a big role to play on Tuesday night with obviously Richie Smallwood being suspended for that match. It'll be interesting to see who does partner Gilliead in that midfield with us not having another midfield option at the moment. Will we go with a midfield 3 maybe and go a bit more attacking? And we'll just have to wait and see. But Gilliead, for me, I thought had a really good game. Deserved man of the match, in my opinion, I thought, especially in that first half. But throughout the whole game, he knows when to take a foul, when to have a word with the referee, when to slow things down. He's just very intelligent with it. And like we mentioned a few times now, I wasn't impressed when I saw him get given a new contract in the summer by Mark Hughes, but I think he certainly won me over now. I'm really impressed with what I've seen from him. Certainly wouldn't have been in my team at the start of the season, but each game that goes by, he just gets better and better. And I thought he had a really good performance. So in my opinion, deserved man of the match. The least we can give him, though, is a green box.
Yeah, I'm one of them, who wasn't quite impressed when I saw the contract got renewed. And I think something that I've noticed during the Kevin McDonald era is people who kind of were fringe players and people who hadn't been performing to the standards they were last season have really shone this season under Kevin McDonald's tenure. He looked absolutely outstanding today, and we know how much Gilliead works. He can easily go 120 minutes, 110%. He's got one of the best engines I've ever seen at Bradford City. He just does not stop running. And yesterday it was a prime example of that. He actually did get the sponsor man of the match in the end. He came up into the suite where I sit and gave an interview, and he talked about his battle with Lee. And he said it was really enjoyable. There were 2 good players, and Gilliead's for me is definitely cemented a place for Tuesday now. There's I think Smallwood and Walker suspended, so he's got a massive role to play. I'm not sure who's going to partner him, but he's definitely set the standard now of what needs to be happening from Bradford City midfielder. And I was very impressed with the way that he conducted himself. I thought he was a leader really well. When we went 1-0 down, I noticed that he was kind of motivating the players. He was the first one pushing them forward and making sure that the heads didn't drop really. And that's exactly what I want to see. And he's been a servant for this club for a while now on about 3 different occasions. I'd probably say he's one of the top appearance makers in a Bradford City shirt with this current squad. And he gets what it means to play for Bradford, and he's been a brilliant player, brilliant servant for us. It's nice to see him performing to the standards that we've seen him in his prime at Bradford. So, yeah, Gilliead had a great performance from me yesterday, and hopefully many more.
Yeah, I think we've got to give Gilliead credit as well because he obviously recently had that position change. I know it was maybe a season or 2 ago now, but from playing as a right winger, we thought he was going to come in when he originally re-signed for the football club as a right winger. I think it was it Derek Adams who then put him as a central midfielder, and ever since then it's kind of stuck. And he didn't really have the fans for the first, I'd say, year, maybe 18 months of him doing that. But I think, especially since that Mansfield game back in, I think it was February, he got made captain for that game. Since then, he just seems to have really taken into that role and gone up another level, and you've got to give him lots of credit. And the sponsor thing were really weird because it flashed up on the scoreboard a couple of times when we point, and then, like you say, apparently got given to Gilliead in the end. So, yeah, really weird stuff what was going on yesterday. But we'll move on then to our next box. I've gone with a red box for Andy Cook. Now, he's someone who I've spoken about quite a lot over the last few weeks. There's been, I think, a lot of debate on social media and even in the comment section as well. Some people haven't really agreed with me. But again, I think we saw yesterday that maybe he just doesn't suit Kevin McDonald's system. Even though we're going more direct, he doesn't seem to be as involved as much. He's finishing in front of goal. While I did feel a little bit sorry for him yesterday because there were a number of times where he was just being blatantly fouled. And again, you never get anything from the referees. The referee was absolutely awful again. Both sides could have had a penalty or two. I think we should have had 2 or 3. But Cook, for me, he just doesn't. I don't think he suits the Kevin McDonald style of play, and Smith hasn't exactly impressed so far. You're not going to drop Cook. He is still our biggest goal threat, I'd say. And he's obviously very nice to see other players now chipping in for him. We don't rely on Andy Cook, but his finishing in front of goal has been poor over the last few matches. Even the few half chances, the headers that he's getting, sometimes he has 3 headers and they're going wide or straight at the keeper. He's kind of rushing chances, and it's frustrating because Andy Cook is obviously a very, very good player, but at this moment in time, he's not suiting. I think for me personally, from what we've seen, it's been the consistent thing for the last few matches now. He doesn't suit Kevin McDonald's style of play. He had a lot of chances, to be fair, though, in that game against Swindon. Didn't take them. He had a couple half chances, nothing really clear-cut, though. Didn't take them in that one as well. And it is quite frustrating to see because we all know Andy Cook is a very, very good player. He's just in, again, another rough patch at the moment, which is frustrating, but it's his all-round play as well. His head goes down very easily, and I think he's just very frustrated at the moment. He's frustrated with obviously not scoring, and that means that the fans are going to be frustrated with him because his all-round play isn't the greatest.
Yeah, I definitely don't disagree with that. I think just overall he's very lazy. I mean, I've commented on a couple of times that he's not just a good striker, but he moves the ball well. He's a great player technically, but we just didn't see that from anything really. And, I understand where the frustration's coming from. It doesn't happen just in the Wrexham game. It is pretty much every week now that Andy Cook is getting wrestled to the floor and referees aren't taking though. And there's small players. I remember there's an instance, I can't remember who it was on the wing, but Sam Stubbs had a bit of a shoulder barge on a player. He went down, it's given the foul. I think referees are struggling to kind of take into account the physicality levels, and they're kind of just ignoring Andy Cook because he's quite a big lad. And I think, I don't know what needs to be done about it, but something needs to change because Andy Cook is getting wrestled to the floor and we're not getting anything for it. I definitely think that with the penalties, it could have changed the game, not just for us, obviously giving us 3 points, but been a massive confidence booster for Andy Cook as well. He is the penalty taker, and we get 1 or 2 penalties that game. He scores a brace, he's back on form again, but at the moment we're looking at a very out of form striker, and I think there is a lot of pressure on his shoulders. He's the starting striker with one of the biggest clubs, not just in League Two, but the divisions above as well. It's one of the biggest clubs in the EFL, and there's a lot of pressure on his shoulders. Nearly 40 goal contributions last season. And, when things aren't going right for him, there's probably a lot going through his mind, doubting himself, thinking it's not good enough. And, it's a rough patch, and there's a lot of pressure on someone's shoulders, especially when you're a lone striker as well. It is difficult, and there isn't someone that I'd probably bring in that can take his place. Tyler Smith, I wouldn't be surprised if he didn't score all season. He's not a striker. He looks like scoring. I think we're going to have to heavily rely on other sources this season for goals, not just Andy Cook. And I think that is a good thing in a sense because, last season without Andy Cook, there was a chance we probably would have got relegated. Harry Lewis, Brad Halliday, Andy Cook, there is kind of key players to the success, if you will, even though we didn't really get promoted. But there were key factors into the reason that we were able to push for anything like it. And Harry Lewis been underperforming a little bit recently, and you've got Andy Cook who's not scoring many goals. There's a lot of pressure on these big players to perform, and when it doesn't go right, heads can drop, and I understand that. And I think with Verdane Oliver coming back, it's not going to be, it's going to be good for us because we're going to probably see more goals. And I think in the Wrexham game, it definitely would have been more suited. There were a lot of wasted corners, wasted crosses yesterday that we definitely could have converted from with Verdane's physicality. And, I think he's won the most aerial duels. I think I saw a stat about that when he first came to the club. He's won the most aerial duels in the whole of England. And that is definitely a stat which is impressive, and it definitely would have helped with the way we kind of played football yesterday. But Verdane Oliver can't come back soon enough. He's got to push Andy Cook more, and he's got to possibly be a partner as well, and definitely another goal source. So, yeah, a bit of concerning times, but we know he's a good player. He'll pull through this, and hopefully we'll see the real Andy Cook soon.
Yeah, I think Verdane Oliver has been a big miss, especially in a game like that against Wrexham when the defenders are so big and physical. And I thought they did a really good job, to be fair, marking Cook out of the game. And I will give him a little bit of leeway because, again, he's playing up front on his own for the large periods and he doesn't really have much support around him. Osadibe and Point and even Walker not really getting too close to him. Pointing was trying a little bit, but especially Osadibe and Walker, they just don't get close enough to Andy Cook, so they're not even there for the second balls. But I've just seen a tweet here from Pete O'Rourke, so a fairly reliable source, claiming that former Leeds United assistant manager and ex-Oxford United boss Carl Robinson has turned down the opportunity to have talks with Bradford City over the vacant manager's job at the League Two club. So it sounds pretty reliable. He's not normally someone who just makes stuff up. But yeah, apparently Cal Robinson has turned down at Bradford City. That's just come through now at the time of recording. But we'll move on then to box number 3. It's a yellow box for Liam Ridehalgh. Now, we gave him a lot of credit for the game against AFC Wimbledon recently, but in this one against Wrexham, I thought for large periods he was solid. There were a few times, especially in that first half, he got caught out by the number 29, I think, is it Barnett or Bennett, something like that. But the goal, again, now it's not just Ridehalgh, but he fails to stop yet another cross that comes into the box. And don't get me wrong, Taylor makes an absolute meal of it. He goes and heads to the net, and Halliday doesn't even try and head the ball, and headers straight at Harry Lewis, and it goes in. So there's about 4 or 5 different plays that you could blame for the goal. So I'm not just blaming it on Liam Ridehalgh, but the source of it is from failing to stop a cross. And I don't expect him to stop every single cross, but he doesn't stop enough for my liking. And like I say, we give him a lot of credit for his performance against Wimbledon, because I thought he stopped a number of crosses in that one. But when you fail to stop the cross and then we concede from that cross, it has to be a talking point, because it's not the first time that it's happened with Liam Ridehalgh. He's far too slow and he's not quick enough to get tight enough to his man. You could argue maybe Osadibe could help him out a little bit, because obviously he's the winger and it's their wing back who's put the ball into the box. But for me, Ridehalgh does need to do better with that. Apart from that, there was maybe one other chance, maybe in that first half, when Paul Mullin had that diving header, which he should have definitely scored from, but he didn't. I thought Ridehalgh was pretty solid, but on the whole, it's just that one moment which has cost us a goal. And like I say, it wasn't just him. You know, I put a tweet out about Ridehalgh failing to stop the cross again, and a lot of people seem to think that I was just singling out Ridehalgh for the goal and blaming him for the goal. But there was a number of other players who should have done a lot better. But it's just that same constant of Liam Ridehalgh failing to stop a cross, and we concede from it. You know, we saw it. I remember one off the top of my head, maybe Sutton United at home last season, where I think he got absolutely skinned by Ajiboye. Cross comes in, free header. So it's a very similar thing. It's frustrating at the moment, and I just think the quicker Lewis Richards comes back into the team, the better. But he didn't exactly do himself the world of good with his performance against Man City's under 21s. And we've all seen Kevin McDonald liked his experience in there, especially in his defensive position. So I can't see him dropping Ridehalgh at the moment for Lewis Richards unless there was to be an injury.
Yeah, there's definitely, a lot up in the air about who should be the starting left back, because Lewis Richards kind of dropped in form and Ridehalgh has been pretty decent, to be fair to him, but it's fine margins, and at the end of the day, that defensive error has cost us 3 points. It's a massive 2 points dropped, and it could have been putting us in the playoffs, and we could be going into MK Dons with a lot of confidence, having known that we've just beat one of the best sides in the division. But it wasn't to be, and I think the way in which it happened, it's complete grassroots basic stuff. He's tucking in with Sam Stubbs, with a man who's already covered. He's left his man wide open on the far side. I mean, it's not just Ridehalgh. The defence should be telling them. It's quite obvious that there's a man free on the far side, and he's completely left, and he gets the ball, he's crossed in, and then it's poor from Ash Taylor, and it's right at Harry Lewis again. And there's multiple people you can blame for that goal, and yeah, it's a matter of fine margins, like I said, and it can all play a part in the season. We might miss out on the playoffs by a point, or might miss out on the automatics by a point, and vice versa. And it's a matter of fine margins, and it could cost us a lot. And it's mistakes like that we've got to address, and it's not just the first time. Crosses, corners, set pieces, it's all a massive, massive factor in why we're where we are, because we concede lots of goals from them. And I've mentioned it so many times, when he's going to get addressed. We've got 6'5" defender in Ash Taylor, who should be bodying Erling Haaland, and he's getting completely out-muscled. He headbutts thin air. It's really poor defensive display, and we'll get on to Ash Taylor later, as you know. But it's fine margins, like I've said about 50 times. But it's errors like that can really play a part in the season, and I want to try and move on from it, really, because we've got Tuesday MK Dons. We can put that right, and it's a brilliant point at the end of the day. So there's not too many negatives I can pick out, but that gets covered, and Liam Ridehalgh is where he should be, and we're talking about 3 big points.
Yeah, we'll move on then to box number 4. I've gone with a green box for Adam Wilson. Now, this could be a box for Bobby Points, and I thought both of them on that right-hand side did have really good games. Obviously, Wilson comes on, and he scores his first Bradford City goal, comes up with the match winner, and that is what we talk about when we want impact from, I don't really like the word substitute. I think it's more for starters and finishers. And it was obviously a really nice finish from the finisher in Adam Wilson. Had one bite of the cherry, which was blocked. It came back to him and it hit the underside of the crossbar. And I thought, that's definitely, with the way this game's gone, that's definitely going to bounce out. And it thankfully bounced over the line. The net rippled and it managed to rescue us a point, which I think was more than deserved. I think if any team deserved to win that game, it was definitely us. And that's not me being biased. You know, they only had one shot on target all game. I think we had over 20 shots. So it's nice to see us playing some positive attacking football. And it's nice to us finally be having some impact from our substitutes, because that's not really something that we've had over the last couple of seasons. You know, maybe Charles Vernon, when the times when he'd come back from injury and he'd come on and maybe score. I remember Port Vale at home under Derek Adams, but that was about it. We've never really had impact from substitutes like what we saw from Adam Wilson. We've been seeing recently under Kevin McDonald, you know, Osidibe recently as well. And it's just nice to see. And I think Wilson is certainly more of a long-term project. I thought his overall game wasn't too bad. You know, there's some nice crosses in there, one or two overhit crosses, but I think it's League Two at the end of the day. You are going to see some inconsistent performances. I'll touch on Bobby Poynton as well. Obviously, another very impressive performance from him. I thought the first half, while he was getting to the feel of the game, you know, James McLean kept leaving a few on him, and I think Bobby Poynton, you know, was clearly winding him up quite a lot. That tactical foul that he took was a brilliant one to take. You know, it was a great foul, and you know, he got applauded. And it's very rare you see a foul get applauded, but it was a brilliant tactical foul, and he's so intelligent. He knows what to do. In the second half, I thought he really grew into the game. Some nice flicks at times, but both him and Wilson could have got green boxes. In the end, I decided to go Wilson, but they were both fantastic yesterday.
Yeah, Poynton brilliant once again, and it's just so good to see. Every week he seems to be building on what was a brilliant debut, and it's exciting to see one of your own, a homegrown talent, playing so well and integrating himself into that side. He's probably one of the first names in the team sheet. He just doesn't stop running as a kid. And I was a bit baffled as to why he got brought off. I didn't think that was a right play, but Kevin McDonald, once again, it could have been a stroke of luck, but to bring on the match winner 2 league games in a row, he brought on Osidibe, and he scores the winner against Wimbledon, and then he brings on Adam Wilson and he scores an equaliser against Wrexham. It's tactical genius, really, if you will. There was a bit of stroke of luck in there, but for Adam Wilson, I think we talked about it when he got dropped, when he played a poor game. It was at Wimbledon. He didn't play amazing and he got dragged off, and we said we'd probably leave him out and bring him off the bench. And I knew this wasn't going to be, it was going to be a blip in the road, and I knew he was going to be back to his best. And I think, as much as I criticised the recruitment team, I think they've hit this one perfect. He's a brilliant, brilliant signing. And the Welsh League is quite unknown in terms of the level. How does it compare to League Two? But he definitely seems like an able player in this division. And to say we've secured Adam Wilson on a long-term deal as well, it's definitely confidence. And yeah, he's a great player, demonstrated it, fantastic finish, and he's a nightmare for the defence. Probably should have got a penalty as well. Was fouled on the edge of the air, inside the area. And we're talking about fine margins again, that penalty being awarded. Andy Cook scores, confidence boost to 3 points. All plays a massive part. The referee was diabolical, I think, for both sides yesterday. I think there could have been 2 or 3 penalties for both. But back on Adam Wilson, he's very exciting on the ball. He's very agile, gets around players well. And I think on that right hand side with Poynton linked up with Halliday well, and so did Adam Wilson. I think Brad Halliday is another brilliant player who just seems to make the players playing in front of him look really good. The way he sort of plays, the overlapping runs is outstanding, and he really complements the winger. And I think Adam Wilson and Bobby Poynton were absolutely outstanding yesterday. I couldn't really separate the two in terms of performance. They both played really well.
Yeah, it was nice to see, you know, Wilson having a good impact, especially when I think when he signed, there were a few people unsure about the signing because he's come over from the Welsh League, but obviously he's been given a long-term contract, and I certainly think there is a good player in there. Like what I mentioned against, I think it was after the Wimbledon game, I think he deserved to be dropped for this one because he was quite poor against Wimbledon, but that's what you want from your players, to have that reaction when they're given the opportunity to go on and take it. And we'll move on then to our penultimate box. It's a yellow box for Ash Taylor, his first league minutes since the opening day against Crawley, and I thought he was obviously much better in this one than he was against Crawley. You know, it was a massive statement from Kevin McDonald to go with Ash Taylor. I personally wanted Kieran Kelly. If Jonathan Tompkinson hadn't been away with USA, then I would have obviously gone with him. But with jet lag and fatigue and all that sort of stuff, I personally, in my Tier 3 exclusive video, said I wanted Kieran Kelly. Ash Taylor, for me, had a really good game. There was a couple of occasions where I thought, I don't think Matty Platt would have quite done that. Obviously, the goal, he plays his part in that, like what we've already mentioned, you know, he just goes and absolutely heads thin air, and I don't know why he's marking Sam Stubbs his man, and that kind of means Halliday has to come over and mark Mullin when that should be Ash Taylor's man. So I don't know what's gone on there, maybe a lack of communication, but I think there was an occasion in the first half where he let the ball bounce and Stephen Fletcher got in between them, and then inside the penalty area fell to the floor. That one could have been a penalty. And there were a few moments where we saw a similar Ash Taylor to what we've seen already from him so far in a Bradford City shirt. For the match against MK Dons on Tuesday, well, I think he did a good job in this one against Wrexham. It's not something I'd like to see long term. I'd like to see Matty Platt come back into the side, or maybe even Jonathan Tompkinson. I'm not really too sure. I think Stubbs is obviously cemented in the side. If Stubbs is fit, Stubbs has got to play. But his partner at the moment, I think he's very up in the air, because Platt, while he's a pretty average 6 out of 10 every week, when you're a team who wants to be getting promoted, you need a little bit better than that. And if Tompkinson can offer that, then I'd like to see a little bit more from him. But Ash Taylor, I've gone with the yellow box. Like I say, overall, not too bad. Certainly much more improved from his performance against Crawley. I think playing in the back four did suit him a lot more. But there's a couple moments in there where there were big mistakes, and it could have, on another day, cost us a lot more than what it did.
I think with the selection of Ash Taylor, it was very much down to the relationship Kevin McDonald and Ash Taylor have. If Kevin McDonald wasn't going to give this chance, there was probably fears for him that he wouldn't get another one, because that Crawley performance enough alone was to get his contract terminated. I mean, it's an absolute disgrace. And when you perform like that at a club like this with ambitions like this, it's simply unacceptable. And, it shouldn't be looked past. I think the one after Crawley, I definitely wouldn't give him another chance. But I think with the new Kevin McDonald there and how he's kind of bringing fringe players into it and they're looking really good and potential starters, I think I was very open-minded about Ash Taylor starting the game, and I had my doubts about it, but I think he was a solid 6 out of 10, played average, did his job really. And I think I looked at the stats, I was quite surprised about his aerial statistics. He won about 6 out of 15 or something along them lines, and for a 6'5" centre half, that's not really good enough. And not even just his height either. He's not a lanky player. He's an absolutely massive player. He's very wide. He's very stocky. And, he's a unit, and he's got good attributes as well. He's got a long throw as well, which we've not really seen utilised apart from in the Bury pre-season friendly. It's not really. It's kind of come up short really. But I think in this we could use this Platt suspension and this kind of debate to give Jonathan Tompkinson a chance. I think he'd maybe come off the bench once, if that, for Bradford. I think he definitely deserves a chance, especially when he's getting these opportunities for the national side. I think with the way we're playing at the moment, we kind of can afford to take these risks. And no offence to MK Dons, but I think it should be a game that we are getting 3 points, minimum 1 point out of. And I think this is a good opportunity for Jonathan Tompkinson to show what he can do.
Moving on then to our final box. It is another green box, this time once again for Kevin McDonald. I think I'm right in saying McDonald has now already had more green boxes than what Mark Hughes did, and McDonald has only managed 3 league games for us. I think he might have had a green box in every game so far, because it was another impressive performance. It was positive attacking football. Like I just mentioned earlier on in this video, there's apparently Carl Robinson has turned down the opportunity to speak to Bradford City, having watched another good performance against clearly the favourites for the league with probably one of the biggest budgets in the league. McDonald, for me, is now a serious candidate for this job. There's strong rumours coming out today about the Cowleys. For me personally, I don't think that'd be a bad appointment. My favourite is still Richardson, but McDonald is really creeping up that list now. I just think every game that goes by, I'm more and more impressed. And I think now that they had the full week on the pitch, we're starting to see his style of play a little bit more, and we're getting to see some players who were maybe left in the wind, is that the right saying, under Mike? He was getting the opportunity and he's making them look very good, and I think his style of play is really nice to watch, and the fans are completely on board with Kevin McDonald. That was the first time I've seen at Valley Parade in a league match, not including the playoffs, the fans really get behind the players when we concede. I haven't seen that at Valley Parade for absolute years, and everyone is right behind Kevin McDonald right now. Everyone is right behind this Bradford City team, and he's proven how much of a fraud really Mike Hughes was. That's not a light word to use, but in terms of a manager, that man is an absolute fraud of a manager, because with the squad that he had, how many people were criticising Gent for the recruitment? And you look at how many players who were performing so poorly in that Mike Hughes system and style of play to now under Kevin McDonald in just a matter of weeks. How many players have been improved and look so much better? Yes, we've seen a slight regression in Andy Cook, but pretty much every other player has got a little bit better, which is brilliant to see. Kevin McDonald has to get another green box. And If he gets the job, I would have absolutely no problems with that. Obviously, it'd have to be a contract, I would assume, until at least the end of next season. It seems very clear that McDonald wants to carry on playing, and it's a big decision for him because if obviously he goes into management, then he's going to have to retire potentially. You know, you might go and get the Cowleys in, and then when McDonald retires from football, he comes back as manager. Who really knows? But McDonald, either way, we've got to enjoy this whilst it lasts. He's got to get a green box, and just a brilliant manager from what we've seen so far.
It's definitely an interesting predicament. I mean, it would kind of be unfair to give him the job, but does he want the job, and is it the right thing to do? It's definitely backfired. We know when we employ from within, it's definitely not been successful. We've had interim managers and, you know, giving Mark Tuning kind of says, bear in mind, they did a good job, but we were kind of fighting to stay in the division, and when the bar set that low, you can only go up from there, really. And with the Michael Collins, the less said about that, the better. And it could definitely backfire. The interest that Kevin McDonald has for the job, I'm not entirely sure. If his heart's not all the way in it, I'm not really sure if it's the right thing to do. And if it goes wrong and he doesn't have that, you know, that kind of knowledge and that experience for what to do and how to change it, it could be a massive issue. It's not like he has understudy which can help, an assistant manager. You know, Matt Truman hasn't got much success in getting out this division at all. I don't know which way this club can go with it. I think the only really solution that I'd go with is till January. I think that's probably the best option. You got to assess it from there before giving a big contract out, because we don't really have money to be dishing out on managers and sacking them and this, that, and the other. I think probably the Cowley brothers would be my number one option. I think that would be a good appointment, but I wouldn't be against Kevin McDonald getting the job. I think the football's been brilliant, and that's all we ask from Bradford City fans. You know, if we lose, as much as it is annoying, if the players have been 110% and we deserve to win the game and we've lost, and that's all we can ask for. We want football that's exciting and fun to watch, and something that we can be proud of as a community. And I think with the, not just even the wins as well, we weren't happy with the performances from Mark Hughes' side, and that's very telling when you're coming away from a game we've won and you're not happy with how it's gone. And I'm very happy in the way that Kevin McDonald has conducted himself. I thought, considering he's not really had any interim jobs before, he's done really well with the system and his tactical, you know, ability. He's done really well. I don't know if this is going to continue. I don't know how long this run will last for, and, you know, how he's going to adapt to certain situations. It's such a grey area, and, you know, one decision could, you know, it could be costly, but it's a massive risk and a massive gamble to take. And if the Cowley brothers goes wrong, or the next manager comes and it goes wrong, you'll be looking back on it saying, why didn't we go for Kevin McDonald? And if it backfires with Kevin McDonald, you'll be like, oh, why didn't we get a proper manager in? There's so many options and issues and gambles. It's a very uncertain time, and it's a massive, massive task for Ryan Sparks, because he has to get the next appointment right, and it's a difficult one to make.
I mean, you compare the reaction to yesterday's 1-1 draw to like the Harrogate 1-1 draw or the Grimsby 1-1 draw. Like the fans' reaction, the ground is for one a lot fuller yesterday than what it was in them two other results that I mentioned, and it's a much more positive atmosphere. There's a lot of fans staying behind to applaud the team, and we might have drawn 1-1, but it didn't feel like it was dragging on and it was a bore and a bit of a chore to be at Bradford City. It was an entertaining end-to-end game, and you got to give both sides credit for that. You got to give both sets of supporters credit for that, because I think when the away end is completely full and there's nearly 3,000 away fans there, it allows you to have that little bit of a back and forth. And I know our stadium isn't the greatest really for having a back and forth unless it's like the whole home end chanting, but I just think it was a really good advert for League Two football. Obviously, Sky didn't want to put it on TV, is what it is, whatever. We don't need that sort of exposure, but nearly 22,000 fans there. Just an incredible game and an incredible day as well. It was a shame we were unable to get the win, but we'll leave it there then for today's video. If you have enjoyed, please make sure to drop a like on there for us. If you could join 80 likes on today's video, that'd be massively appreciated. Subscribe if you're new as well. We are on the road to 8,000 subscribers, so please make sure you are subscribed. If you haven't already, with that post notification bell on, it's free to do so, and it does massively help out. Get a comment in as well down in the comment section down below. Let us know down below your thoughts on our 6 subjects that we spoke about in today's video. Have we been too harsh? Have we been too generous? Let us know all that sort of stuff down below. Thank you all for watching. Who do you want as the next Bradford City manager? And we'll see you all very soon for another one. Peace.